Paradigm shift. An important change that happens when the usual way of thinking or doing is replaced by a new or different way. I think that the 2020 through 2023 college football seasons were all one big collective paradigm shift. I'm going to tell you why. I'll start off by talking about Devonta Smith, wide receiver from Alabama. Following Devonta Smith's junior season in 2019, he was projected to be around a late first to early second round pick in the NFL draft. He could have went off with two of the other draft eligible wide receivers in Henry Ruggs and Jerry Jeudy and entered that 2020 NFL draft, but he decided to come back for his senior year. He came back and ended up having a monster season for the Crimson Tide, leading them to a national championship win, and he played so well, he won the Heisman as a wide receiver. And if you know anything about college football, you know how extremely hard that is for a non-quarterback to win that award. Devonta Smith caused a paradigm shift because he showed college football and all these highly graded prospects that there's so many benefits to coming back for your fourth year. And the proof of that is Chris Olave coming back for his senior year and ended up getting drafted in the first round in 2022 rather than being a late first to early to mid second round pick in 2021. And the season after that, Zay Flowers ended up doing the same exact thing and made himself into a first round pick. And it may work out for Xavier Legette also, as he came back for his senior year and his draft stock elevated immensely. We'll just have to see where he gets drafted. The next factor that ended up causing this paradigm shift is quarterback DJ Uiagalelei. Heading into the 2020 season, DJU was one of the highest rated quarterbacks in that 2020 recruiting class. He was a 5-star prospect, and he was looked at to being the successor to Trevor Lawrence. He has such high expectations that he even started 2 games in 2020 while Trevor Lawrence was out with a sickness, and he actually played really well. However, he did struggle in 2021 and 2022 and ended up getting benched. This caused a paradigm shift because he was looked to being the successor to Trevor Lawrence. He was supposed to continue Clemson's dominant run over the college football world and lead them to winning another championship, just like Deshaun Watson and Trevor Lawrence did. He was up next. But things didn't work out like that, and it ended up leading to the fall off of the Clemson Tigers. And the question remains, was the blame on DJ or was it on Dabo Swinney? The next factor that helped cause this paradigm shift was Quinn Ewers early enrolling at Ohio State. I don't know how planned out this was, but if you look back on it, Ohio State had the perfect succession plan lined up. After Justin Fields left off to the NFL, CJ Stroud was a sophomore and stepped up and became Ohio State's starting quarterback. And CJ was an absolutely amazing quarterback and gave that program 2 opportunities to reach the college football playoffs and play for a natty. And they didn't end up working out that way, but they had the right guy for the job. But when CJ left off for the NFL after the 2022 season, their next quarterback that ended up starting was Kyle McCord, who was very underwhelming. But I don't think he was ever supposed to be their starting quarterback. In my eyes, their starting quarterback in the 2023 season was supposed to be Quinn Ewers. Now, obviously, Quinn Ewers was, I believe, the highest rated prospect in the history of high school recruiting, at least at the quarterback position. And no 5-star blue chip prospect is going to want to sit and wait for 2 years to play. I think if Quinn Ewers never enrolled early, he would be 2 years behind CJ Stroud, would only have to wait 1 year, and that 1 year would have been enough for him to develop and be Ohio State starting QB in the 2023 season. I think that this is one of the biggest paradigm shifts of all because it ended up affecting 2 programs. It ended up affecting Ohio State's quarterback play, as obviously Quinn Ewers is a much better quarterback than Kyle McCord. And it also ended up affecting the Longhorns as they got themselves a gem at QB and Texas is now back. I think that the biggest paradigm shift in this whole video is Michigan's rise to the top. In 2021, the Michigan Wolverines defeated the Ohio State Buckeyes for the first time since 2011. During the paradigm shift era, Michigan ended up winning 3 Big Ten championships, and they also ended up having multiple undefeated seasons in the regular season, and they ended up winning the national championship. But early on into the 2023 college football season, it had been announced that Michigan was officially under NCAA investigations for sign stealing. It had been reported that Connor Stallions, an assistant on Michigan staff, had been illegally recording teams and going to other games to record their signs and using them to help figure out the plays for Jim Harbaugh and the rest of his coaching staff. And while we're still waiting for this investigation to conclude, the question remains, how much of their success can be attributed to the sign stealing? The second to last paradigm shift that I want to talk about is the Georgia Bulldogs winning 2 straight national championships, back-to-back SEC championships, and completely taking over the SEC. Since I started watching college football in 2013, and even before that, the SEC had been consistently dominated by Alabama. And there were a few years in between that another school would win the conference. But for the most part, that conference and the entire college football world was dominated by the Crimson Tide. And now things have changed drastically. The SEC is, I wouldn't say wide open, but way more up for grabs than it was before. And finally, the final factor that ended up wrapping up and putting a bow on this era of college football was Nick Saban retiring. Nick Saban is not even very arguably the greatest college football coach of all time. He has been so successful in Alabama, and I think that he's going to be very missed in the college football world, and it's truly an end of an era. And that's why I think the 2020 season through 2023 was the paradigm shift era of college football. Thanks for watching the video. Make sure you leave a like, a comment, and subscribe for more daily college football content.